Hey, I have another Kino Lorber Blu-ray that I want to review and give you my impressions about. This is Making Mr. Right, directed by Susan Seidelman, released in 1985, and as you can see, it stars John Malkovich and Ann Magnuson. This is a 1980s kind of a rom-com, kind of lightweight, fluffy stuff. Some would even say it's a chick flick. Why would I be interested in talking about this? Well, I'm okay with chick flicks, for starters. My wife and I enjoy watching them together quite a bit. But this one here caught my attention when I was kind of given a list of potential titles to review. Back in 2018, Criterion released this film, Smithereens, which was Susan Seidelman's directorial debut, at least her feature debut. And I really bonded with this film pretty quickly. It was released, I think, in '82, and it kind of comes out of the New York City art and underground music scene. And Seidelman's kind of life was kind of captured or maybe even recreated to a certain extent on film. Richard Hell is in this movie. And I was in a similar scene back around that same time in San Francisco, so a little bit more West Coast, but totally related to the vibe and the way of life and just the situations that these young adults were in. So that got Susan Seidelman started. A couple years later, she did Desperately Seeking Susan, which was a huge smash because Madonna, who had been cast in that role, really broke big in 1984 with Like a Virgin album. And so Desperately Seeking Susan really looks almost like a tailor-made career move for Madonna to become kind of a multimedia pop star acting on film. But I think the movie surpassed expectations. And so that set up Susan Seidelman with a 3-film contract and kind of heavier commercial expectations. And this is the film that she made right after Desperately Seeking Susan. It's kind of a sci-fi kind of inversion from gender roles on movies like Weird Science, where a couple of computer nerds kind of come up with some formula to create this idealized woman, or Mannequin, another kind of, male fantasy of the ideal woman, basically a manufactured product who's totally hot and will do what you tell her to do, which of course from the male perspective is, give him pleasure and confidence and submission to his programming, right? This kind of turns it around and also just has a great variety of strong performances. Obviously, John Malkovich, an early film back when he had lots of hair, big blonde floppy hair. He plays 2 roles. He plays both the scientist, who's this kind of awkward, nerdy, inhibited guy, more into his science and into human relationships. And he also plays Ulysses, the android that is being developed to go on long distance journeys into space so that he can kind of be the eyes and ears of humanity, living in long periods of time in isolation on a spaceship. I mean, it's a kind of a flimsy conceit as far as the science is concerned, but it does set up the hijinks, which is that the Ann Magnuson character is kind of like a publicist, and she's been brought in by the corporation, Chemtech it's called, and it's based down in Florida by the space program. She's brought in to do sort of the public relations and promotion so that they can get congressional funding and get this project off the ground. The movie is shot in Miami. If you think about Miami in the 1980s, you're seeing poppin' fluorescent neon colors, and there's a lot of that in here. So if you like the 80s fashion and just kind of that vibe, that dynamic from that period, this film really has a lot going for it. And again, it's a rom-com, but definitely from a feminist point of view, and one that I think is really pretty fascinating because it does even get into questions of like artificial intelligence and manufactured intelligence and beings that we might interact with in a conversational way. So there is even some sort of prescience to the issues that are being sort of comically played with here and the reality of the world we live in today. Ann Magnuson definitely deserves some calling out for credit. She also kind of came up out of the New York bohemian art and music scene, ran a club called Club 57, I think it was, and, was a performance artist. And so, again, really came out of that scene. This might have been the only major lead role that she ever did. She went on to become kind of a character actor. And 2 really beautiful bonuses on this package here. You see the nice slipcase. Are interviews with Susan Seidelman and Ann Magnuson that appear to have been done within the past several months, or at least the last year, as it was prepared for this disc. These are not ported over from earlier editions. But the validation of these two women and the work that they did to put this movie together, it didn't meet with anywhere near the big financial success as Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan. And it probably was mixed results and maybe a disappointment. It didn't necessarily harm Seidelman's career, but she certainly did not go on to make, big commercial type of films as much. And so, but this is definitely an important piece of work that I really enjoyed. I can see for some people this is going to be like a real comfort film even. It is lightweight, it is somewhat frivolous, there's some pretty funny humor, but again, it's just got that kind of woman's perspective twist, which I think makes it pretty refreshing from the kind of standard 80s weird science kind of plays that were pretty prevalent at the time. So yeah, I do recommend this. If this sounds appealing to you, what I've had to say is intriguing, then definitely check this out. And here's the trailer.
Breakfast as usual, and get me a cosmopolitan, a glamour, a new woman, complete woman, working woman, and modern wrestler.
You got it.
Frankie Stone's got it all. A fulfilling job.
Harold's group is still waiting on the promo copy. Giraldi likes the slogan, but he wants to delete the word small. He thinks it's a turnoff.
An understanding mother.
You could have married the most eligible bachelor in all of Miami if you played your cards right.
A good friend.
Frankie, I always thought Steve was about the best you were gonna do.
She had only one problem. Finding the right guy.
Miss Stone, the Ulysses android is an amazing piece of equipment.
I'm not used to promoting hardware, Doctor. I promote people.
But she was about to take a step in the right direction.
God, he looks like you.
What did you think he'd look like? An erector set?
Making Mr. Right. He was designed for space.
Guess that means you don't cook.
No.
But his heart was set on Earth.
I think you're the most attractive woman I know.
I'm the only woman you know.
What was that?
A kiss.
I love you, Jeff.
What is that woman chasing you?
We were making love and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever felt in my entire life.
Some minor activity occurs in the medulla, and wham, they think they're in love.
You just made it with my android.
Ulysses, you have a great future in space. You'll go down in the history books. You're to be envied. I don't want to be envied. I want to be loved.
From the director of Desperately Seeking Susan, Making Mr. Right.